Hello.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we have here Graham, Joe, Brian as speakers. By the way, Graham, if you're able to speak already, what do you do at Say? Let's maybe start there. When did you start working at Say? What's the journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks to everybody who's showing up here. I can kind of provide a bit of a background on myself. My background mostly is in just like fintech startups, and joined the Say team earlier this year. Basically, help run all sorts of aspects of growth and partnerships, with my number one focus at the moment being ecosystem development. So that's kind of my background, and I will say it's been really really cool to see the community sort of take off, and credit to folks like Alpha Growth, have shown a lot of interest in what we're working on and what we're building. It's learning about new projects and getting folks excited about Say and what's being built is probably my favorite part of my job. So yeah, thanks to everybody for joining here. I guess would it be helpful for me to kind of just provide a high level overview of Say and what we're working on?
100%. So what's the elevator pitch of Say? And if I'm from like a lot of our audience is developers and projects and different ecosystems. So just like what got you excited about Say? What's the elevator pitch of Say? And then kind of like, what's your guys' vision?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess, from a high level, our focus is being a use case specific layer one, right? And so we feel that one of the areas that has really found true product market fit in all of crypto is the DEX. And so given sort of our legacy, the vast majority of our team coming over as developers from Robinhood, the pie in the sky vision was, well, let's take Robinhood and put it on chain. Obviously, that's quite lofty, but over time we've iterated and really found a niche in building out this what we're calling a use case specific chain. And like I said, that use case is DeFi. So from a high level, I think we have sought to take advantage of both sort of the social coordination and composability that you have with general purpose layer ones, and then couple that with some of the customization that you would find with an app chain, and explore this sort of middle ground for building an L1. And it's been really sweet to see a lot of teams find that particularly interesting. And to date, we have between around 90 and 100 teams that have actually committed to building applications within the Say ecosystem. And these are teams that are historically built in Solana, Near, Terra, Polkadot, other IBC ecosystems, and others. So, been really, really cool to see the community really take off, and just all the, new and exciting ideas that are being developed.
Yeah, 100%. You actually like based on the X projects that you are mentioning, it's a very great pool of talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, one thing that we've really been focused on as well is, coming alongside teams in terms of, our role as Say Labs, and providing teams with the resources that they need to succeed, right? So examples of this are, we do have a Say ecosystem and liquidity fund. I don't know if folks saw that, but we raised $50 million to be a part of that, which is basically just, venture partners saying, hey, we're super excited about what you all are doing within the ecosystem. We want to be a part of that and contribute. And so, a lot of teams have started taking advantage of that, which we're super fired up for. And then also on sort of the go-to-market front too, I think that's something that a lot of teams historically have struggled with. And, we want to be able to provide a framework for these teams to be able to succeed and truly build their own communities and really take off as part of the Say ecosystem. So it's been really cool to see a lot of those teams, start to take off.
Cool.
Sure,
So
yeah.
just like Robinhood promised free transactions forever and no transaction fees, you guys are going to do the same, right? At Say, right?
Yeah, we're in the process of ironing all of that out. I don't want to make any promises, but certainly I take a lot of inspiration from Robinhood, and given our legacy as a team, that's definitely an organization we look up to quite a bit. So We'll see. I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't want to make any promises.
yeah, totally. And I think one of the major things that they did is they had that invite list at the beginning that really blew up their network from the really the get go for their go to market. I think they had like almost close to 1 million people on their waiting list before they even launched. Have you guys kind of taken some of those kind of like ideas and trying to help either your dApps or even getting people associated with the network?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for us, we have had and I think this is something that sort of helps separate us from a lot of other teams. And I also think like, building in this sort of bare environment, you're really forced to focus on, just relentless community building. And I think that that's something that we've really harped on a lot as a team. I mean, I think, it's been surreal to see. I mean, I joined the team full time, in the spring, and at the time we weren't even quite sure of what exactly we were building or what we were doing. We really spun up this community from nothing and completely organically. And I think what's been really inspiring is, folks are super excited about what we're building and, sort of the DeFi specific nature of Sei. And so, I think, creating this ambassador program, right? It's called Atlantis, which you can find out more about on our site. I think that's been a tremendous way to get folks involved. We've done, we've had NFT mints as well, testnet NFTs that have really, really just taken off way more than expected. And so I think for us, there's been a very big focus on community building. And, I got to give credit to our marketing team. I think they've done a phenomenal job with it. But, they are truly some of the most incredible growth hackers that I've ever worked with in my experience. So, it's been a big focus for us for sure.
I see. Graham, actually, let's also high level. Lots of questions from the community about like mainnets and stuff. Where are you guys at with like development and like where are you guys at?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So at this point, we're still shooting for a probably mid to late Q1 launch. That's sort of our focus. We have a lot of stuff that we're still focused on, right? And a lot of things that we want to, continue working on before launch. I think, for us, we're still heads down focused on the ecosystem. Another area that, is a big focus of mine too, are just, forming partnerships across the board and with, what I would call like vendors, right? So we're working with several other folks to make sure that, as many users as possible have access to Sei, to be able to use Sei, and just making sure that sort of all of our ducks are in line for mainnet launch. So like I said, shooting for sort of Q1, mid to late Q1 timeframe for launch. But we're super excited.
Got it. And what kind of like partnerships specifically you are focusing on? Because obviously go on mainnet and obviously you want to bring the most attention from developers, from founders and stuff. How do you like power up your ecosystem before the mainnet in terms of infrastructure, onboarding and partnerships, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest focus for us is on the ecosystem, right? So it's continuing to find exciting teams that want to take advantage of Sei's infrastructure. I think that's been a pretty compelling value prop for a lot of the DeFi teams that we've worked with. And they've responded well. And so I think for us, in terms of partnerships, I mean, it's very much still focused on building out the ecosystem, finding new teams that want to dip into the ecosystem fund. I think in talking with hundreds of these teams now, the priorities that they have are really figuring out how to crack go to market, right? And so being able to help teams and build partnerships around that. I think liquidity provisioning is obviously a big hurdle that a lot of DeFi teams are trying to figure out as well. And so being able to provide these teams with resources and allocating those properly from a partnerships perspective is our number one focus.
Yeah, liquidity is surely thin right now in these current times. So in terms of that, like, are you like guys looking to like different bridges? And I also heard a rumor that a bunch of different other Cosmos network kind of chains invested in you guys, and I'm curious on that.
So I'll answer the second part. I don't know the exact details of that, as in terms of like the other Cosmos chains have invested in Sei, but we're being advised by some who I would describe to be like Cosmos OGs And so they've been, tremendously helpful along the way in terms of just like, helping us continue to drive forward our infra and from a community building perspective. And so been very fortunate to have, folks like that on board. And then on the liquidity side, I mean, I think for us, we were fortunate to have GSR, HRT, flow traders, folks like that on our cap table. And so,
little guys.
Yeah, exactly.
The little guys,
the little ones. But I mean, it's been cool to see, some of the connections come from that. And then also, a lot of the folks on our team coming from TradFi backgrounds, including one individual who actually came from a market maker. And so being able to tap into that sort of Rolodex has been super valuable for a lot of the teams that we've been working with.
It's amazing. So in terms of like, as you launch, it seems like this is I'm getting the feeling or the sense that Sei is becoming a very DeFi heavy, DEX heavy. Are you guys, but for a lot of the retail people out there that are on here, are you guys planning any like airdrops or rewards for early users? Any plans to announce anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of rewards for early users, I mean, we've allocated a significant portion of our token supply to testnet rewards. And so basically that's just like, trying to get folks to use us during our testnet phase. Again, we are currently in testnet. We're about to be launching another phase of our testnet, which we're calling Atlantic 2. And so you can find, again, more information about this on our site, on our Twitter page. I mean, in terms of the rewards, I mean, that's something that, we've definitely placed a priority upon. And then I think, going forward, we are still in the works of ironing out exactly what the airdrop is going to look like, but that'll definitely be part of our plan as well.
Got it. So basically, I'm just on your website. In order for me to be a part of the airdrop, I would need to claim the Sei Nami testnet NFT, correct?
That is certainly part of it. There's definitely other folks that will be airdropping too, but that's definitely one way to get involved.
Graham, just release all the alpha, all your plans.
Yes,
and
please.
Get yourself into trouble.
Hey, that wouldn't be fair. I can't do that. Not yet, anyway. But no, these are good questions, and I know these are questions that we've gotten from the community, and rest assured we are ironing all of this out, and really excited to see this take off. So
for sure, yeah. I also in general really excited to see new models for airdrops that we haven't seen in 2021, 2022, because some of them obviously were not as effective, which is fine. We were as an industry experimenting, but I'm really really excited to see when you guys launch your airdrop and announcement, to check it out. Maybe you guys are going to be the next example for, DeFi layer ones in terms of airdrops, and do it sustainably as well.
Yeah. I mean, we're working with a few partners on that front as well. And so it's been really cool to see sort of what the capabilities are on that front, and just how much progress has been made. Very excited to sort of see that take off.
Yeah, and I'm personally curious, and obviously as an alpha growth, as we work with a bunch of ecosystems to help them scale through their grants programs and the funds. So I'm excited to hear about with your 50 million ecosystem fund, which you kind of leaning towards it's more of a VC arm. How do you guys get started? I'm a developer founder, let's say. How do I get a portion of that? How do I get started with the grant?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So first things first is reach out to us. So, I mean, whether that's me, whether that's on, our Twitter account, whatever's easiest for you. We also do have a form on our site and on our Twitter page that you can fill out for this ecosystem program. But essentially what it looks like is we'll have a chat, and then we need three things from folks who are interested. We need a deck that we can easily forward to our venture partners. We need some sort of documentation. So some, combination of those two things. And then the biggest thing is, we need some sort of MVP within our testnet environment, right? So we need to see that you are, committed to the Sei ecosystem, you're committed to building with us. And, we need to see some sort of building going on within the testnet environment. And so there's details on all of that. On Twitter and then on our site. But those are sort of the three things that we look for. And then
Perfect. So
fast
is there
track from
a
there.
case to case basis in terms of like how much the team would be allocated funding? Is like milestone based? Like how do you guys help with like actual like funding for the teams?
Yeah, it's definitely case by case. Just kind of depends on the team that's building what they're building. But yeah, I guess the best way to think of it is very much just like case by case. We don't have any sort of like standard packages that we're offering teams at this point.
Yeah, so let's dive a little bit down. You have this big fund. We work with like a lot of different ecosystems. Obviously teams are super important, but if you had to like sort rank what really in your mind moves the needle, is it like new? Is it TVL? Is it the ability to get wallets and users? Is it transaction volume? Like specifically, what do you think that you're like, if you had to like sort rank it, what do you think Say is most interested in?
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's a few areas, and you touched on a lot of them. I think number one for us, and again, I think there's a few of us on the team who might think a little bit differently about this stuff, but we know when I'm first meeting a team, I think a compelling strong founders who are really committed to the Say ecosystem, who've done their research and they've come to us with a really really new and exciting idea. I think that is probably number one, top of mind. In terms of how we consider folks for the fund, and then I mean number two, we like to see action, right? So it's if you have a community that you're building or that you're fostering, or you've started to deploy contracts in our testnet environment, right? We like to see folks that want to move quickly, that want to move with us, and that are committed to the ecosystem. So I would say founders, compelling ideas, and then any sort of action that you all can showcase. That demonstrates involvement within the ecosystem or within your own community, because ultimately, it's incumbent on us to grow the community. And so, any way we think that folks will be able to do that, we're all for it.
Yeah, cool. I think there's a couple more questions on this, and then we'll probably open it up to the community for like Q&A. So quick hit. A lot of developers on this call. A lot of projects that we're going to blast this out to like about 800, 900 different projects. Are you guys EVM compatible?
It's a great question. It's a question that we've gotten quite a bit. In short, we are not yet, but that is
Cool.
Certainly something that is on our roadmap. We're probably looking at early Q2 for that. So it's a request we've gotten a bunch, and we're excited to eventually roll that out.
Sorry for making you a little antsy on that question. All right, so Cosmos based, right? Like, is that Rust based or Go based? From the level of tech that you're building? Yeah,
Rust. It's the contracts are Cosmos and Rust. Yep.
Got it. So Rust-based contracts. And then do you expect a lot of like people to port their kind of existing contracts over to Rust that are coming from EVM, or do you think that you'll get net new developers or more developers coming into the Cosmos ecosystem? If you had to like take a guess or like a weighted guess, how much do you think are going to be like porting versus like new?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think, and I'll speak to sort of what we've seen so far. I think the vast majority of the teams that are building with us we have several like native Say teams, but teams that are coming from Solana, from Near, from Polkadot, they've been porting contracts over, and so I think it'll be some sort of combination of the two. Cool. I think a lot of the EVM teams that we've spoken with are sort of waiting for that EVM compatibility, which I can totally understand, because I think a hurdle as a developer, you see an nascent ecosystem like Say, even though you might like the tech, you might like the opportunity. We're in testnet, we haven't gone live yet, and so I think a lot of teams are sort of still in waiting in terms of, all right, so when they go live, then we'll be able to capture an existing user base. And also just, as developers are constantly weighing, all right, what's sort of like the ROI of, deploying on a new chain, and porting contract can be a bit of a lift. And so, number one, we want to make that as easy as possible. But number two, we totally understand, wanting to wait to do that until it's a bit easier. So,
yeah. So when you're talking to these guys in these projects, or you say like, hey, you want people that are like very committed to Say, what are you hearing back from the community, or what are you guys telling these guys, the developers, on why Say, like fundamentally? You guys got a good team. backed by Robinhood. You have a good strategy. Hey, we're going to do Cosmos DeFi chain. Very cool concept. But what do you think is bringing these guys over the edge?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I mean, I think there's one thing that comes to mind actually. It's a team called Cargo, Kargo, on Twitter, and they're building this like layer 1.5. They're calling it predictions markets sort of infra on top of Sei. And so I think like what's been super compelling for a lot of these teams is, number one, it's, the ability, especially for like younger founders, to have that go to market, right? So it's assisting with content. It's like spinning up a Twitter account. It's getting, these teams sort of like off the ground, up and running, right? Because, there's no shortage of ideas, of great ideas. There's just, it can be challenging to execute, right? And so I think that for a lot of these teams, that's super, super compelling, but also, the opportunity to, because Sei is an ecosystem and we have all these different teams that are building within the eco, I think there's some compelling opportunities that sort of will serve as like abstraction layers atop some of the dexes that are building within Sei. And so that's sort of what Cargo sought to capitalize on. And again, I'm super impressed with this team. Really, really strong individuals who are building out Cargo. But I think they saw the opportunity to sort of build a mini ecosystem within Sei, and sort of being the hub for predictions markets, for example, within Sei, is something that really resonated with them, and I think that ultimately kind of brought them over the finish line and decided to help them decide to make Sei their native eco.
Cool. Before we open it up, it seems really compelling. Like you guys have like a lot of partnerships, a lot of liquidity, like a lot of plays going on. Before we open up to questions, I got two last questions. One, what's your biggest need or problem right now? And like, if somebody on this phone could help you source something that you need, what do you think your biggest like roadblock or problem or something that this community at large could help you with?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think our number one focus, and like if you don't hear anything, hear this. Our number one focus is bringing new teams into the ecosystem. We really do believe that a layer one is only as strong as its developer community. And so for us, I mean, that is like by far our chief priority. So if you have an idea, if you have, a project that you're working on, if you have a team, you're looking for a home ecosystem that's like really going to take care of you, we are the place for that. And so I think, for us, just any teams that have compelling ideas in DeFi, I mean, that would be for us the biggest value add at this point.
So you guys want the new hotness, the new hot sauce.
Exactly.
Got it. Very cool. Cool. What question do you wish we would have asked you?
That's a good question. I think you guys covered everything, really. Yeah. No, this is good. This has been great.
Cool. All right, so we're gonna start inviting people up to the stage that have questions and take it from there.
Sure. I just accepted Ning. So like whenever you have access to speak, please do. But guys, please request to speak, and I will make you a speaker so you can ask your questions. All right. So I'm just follow.
She's got.
But yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Let me see what other questions I might have in comments.
Let's tackle the bear question.
Oh.
Wow. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. So a lot of people have been bearish and skeptic about DeFi. Me personally, I haven't, but I have family members calling me up that know that I'm in this space, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I was better before, but I'm okay. Thanks for asking. But in terms of, joining this new chain, this new team, and DeFi specifically, what keeps you bullish? Like, what keeps you going? What do you, and then just anecdotal opinion. When's the bear? When are we back in the bull and away from the bear?
Yeah, I mean, great question. It's funny. My family is asking me all the same things. So I think that the best part about this, and again, I know it's been challenging for a lot of folks, but I think that, what I've seen is, the folks that are really built, the folks that are still here, the folks that have stuck it out, and the folks that are building in the space right now, I mean, these are the ones that are like around to stay. And so I think a lot of the, I don't know, a lot of the other crazy stuff has gotten washed out in the industry. And like, if you're not really committed to building, it's going to be really, really challenging to stick it out through the market that we're in. And so I think number one, it's, that component is inspiring to me. I mean, I think, the quality, I'll be honest, like I think the quality of the projects that I've spoken to since, all of the craziness erupted about a month and a half ago, I would say that that's, significantly higher quality in terms of the products that we've spoken to, which I think is cool. And then I would say, for us, being able to focus on, just continuing to boost our ecosystem. I mean, that's been something that has kept me excited as well. And then in terms of like when it's going to be over, I mean, I don't know, man. I have no idea, but I think for us, we're just, really heads down focused on continuing to build, which, I think most of the folks that we've been working with are also aligned to. So,
yeah. Actually, on this note, and by the way, I do have one speaker just join us, but just wanted to touch on this. We definitely also, as Alpha Growth, we saw a much better conversion in inbound of people who apply for grants. And I don't know, Graham, if you know or not, but sorry, we accept submissions to to lots of ecosystems, and also just to like our partner ecosystems, and we definitely see better teams, stronger teams applying, because and they're more targeted. So I see less people applying for all grants, and actually they are more deliberate with their choices. So yeah, I mean, definitely it's a purge season, but builders gonna stay and build more. But by the way, I have Kari. Sorry, I don't want to mispronounce your name. But if you're ready to speak, please, the floor is yours for questions.
Kari, you got a question? Cool. All right. Well, that's going. Yeah, he's on mute. He's apt to unmute himself. Yeah, I would say, we're tracking around 25. April of last year, we were tracking 25,000 crypto projects. And, the website died of about 4,000 of them. And back in April, we were seeing around 1,200 new Web3 and crypto projects through our data mining every single month. And right now it's a little over 600. So just the quantity of projects in this space, that we're seeing is about half than it was like 5 months ago, 6 months ago. So it's cool. The quality is much higher. There's a lot more noise. A lot of copy pasta projects, a lot of NFT projects that are just kind of phoning it in, not really diving down into utility, and a bunch of forks, sometimes not even changing the design of the front end. They'll change one pixel hue on the CSS, and they're like, "Hey, look what we did! It's so innovative." And it's pretty wild.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I also think coming out of this too. I mean, if folks actually do the research, it makes a super compelling case for DeFi versus centralized exchanges, right? And so I think it's incumbent on us, folks who are in the space, folks who have a platform, to communicate the benefits of DeFi, right? And being, in transparency and whatnot. And so I think that's also, going to be a massive focus for us. But I guess, the other thing is too, we're getting attention, right? The whole industry is getting attention. It might be pretty bad press at the moment, but I think, folks are talking about what's going on in the crypto space. And I think, ultimately, even though it sucks in the moment, I think longer term, I mean, this had to happen, and we'll be all better off for it in the longer term.
Yeah, it's weird. I was listening to a podcast with an FBI agent that helped take down the Silk Road, and he said all of the press of taking down the Silk Road completely spiked the activity of the Tor network and people going onto the darknet, and then all news is good news, or whatever, all press is good press. The SBF, obviously, fraud, he's been arrested now and everything like that. But DeFi is the real winner in this, right? Because the DeFi systems, they weren't able to be manipulated. They weren't able to be taken down. and I think it's like phenomenal. I live in the Fairfax County area, and just last month, Fairfax County Public Pension Fund and made their first DeFi investment ever. So we are like early in terms of like mass adoption of this space, and it's just exciting for that keeps me bullish on the whole thing.
I mean, I think we're also seeing like these massive partnerships from institutions as well. I mean, I don't know if you all saw Visa the other day, but there's just like a lot of.
What was with Visa?
There was some, and again, forgive me, it was something to do with like payments infrastructure or something they were putting on chain. I don't remember exactly what it was. Or ZK, yeah. But stuff like that. I mean, we're going to start seeing a lot more of that, and I think it gives folks like us an opportunity to kind of jump into the limelight with some of these bigger organizations. So.
All right, 6 months, 12 months, 5 years, your choice on to how to answer this question. What will Sei be known for?
Yeah, let's choose the 5-year route. I mean, I think like down the line, if we're successful in building what we're out to build, I mean, the vast majority of DeFi trading will take place on Sei, and that's it's a lot to accomplish. But I think for us, and there are several steps along the way and things we kind of have to push through, but I think as a team, what I've seen from the lab scene, but then also the community, it's that they're super excited about this. And so for us, I think Sei is set up for success. There's the opportunity to really be that infrastructure component for trading on chain, and so we just have to continue to build that out, grow the community, and get folks excited. And it's organizations like you all. At Alpha Growth that help communicate this to their communities, and we're excited to sort of see that happen. So, yeah, hopefully in the next 5 years we'll be able to take off like that.
Cool. I'm going to do a last call for speakers. If anybody out there wants to ask a question, come on up and got another question while we're going with that. What either personally or as an organization? What were the biggest mistakes or lessons that you've learned along the way on this journey?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I would say personally, I think one thing that's really, really important is being able to adjust your like working style and then also your approach. Cause my focus is again, external relationships, right? And so coming from sort of like the fintech SaaS world, it's a very different style of working, and use different mediums and different tools, right? I mean, the vast majority of the work that we do in this space takes place on Discord and Telegram, on Twitter, right? Whereas in the Web 2 world, a lot of it happens over email, over the phone, stuff like that. And so I think being able to adjust to that and being nimble, I think that's something that our team has learned how to do quite well. I think there's quite a steep learning curve early on, but being able to adjust and relate to folks and really understand the industry is something that we've really grown in as a team.
Yeah, there's a lot of like primitives of how to launch companies and how to launch crypto companies there's no playbook, right? And one of the things that I say to like a lot of startups, especially projects coming in crypto, is like, imagine you had the first car on the roads. Like, what laws were you breaking? It's like, there are no laws, right?
Exactly.
So you have to be a good citizen and you have to reinvent everything. You have to, traffic lights to roads, to road construction and infrastructure. I think we're really in that road and infrastructure phase where we're just getting started. Like, cool, here's a car, but there's not enough on ramps and off ramps. Where even the terminology that we use in this space has a lot to do with like driving in highways, right? So
absolutely, and that's the most. One of the most fun parts about it, right? It's like sort of being in that first early adopter group, getting to break things and figure things out and grow from that. So definitely.
All right, I got one more question. I'll call it the grandma question. When is your grandma or anybody's grandma going to start using crypto?
I don't know. Honestly, the sooner that we can figure out a succinct and effective way of explaining crypto, I think the better off we'll be. It's funny, over Thanksgiving, I was back home with my grandparents, and my grandfather kept calling NFTs ETFs. And so I think these are baby steps, right? So I was like, you know what? No, like there's a difference here, NFTs, and explaining kind of what that was. And so, take the time to explain to folks, to normies, what we're working on. I think that's like super, super important. It can be a lot of work, but we got to have patience and just understand that until our grandparents can figure out how to use this stuff, like we still have a lot of work to do. So
yeah, mine's got to pick up an iPhone first before I think we can get to that
baby
point.
Steps.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. All right, so to kind of like look back on today's conversation, Sei, it's Cosmos, Cosmwasm, Rust-based development, looking towards the future on EVM. You guys are really fast. You're focusing on DeFi and DeFi primitives, and you're looking for the new and the DeFi hotness from Rust-based projects and protocol developers. You have a $50 million ecosystem, anywhere from like 80 to 100 dApps that you kind of have lined up. You have some really big liquidity players like GSR, some market maker backed. You're backed by a lot of the other OGs in the Cosmos ecosystem, and you're building something really cool. Anything else that you want to do? How do people reach out? What do you want them to do to take next steps before we sign off?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think you summed it up really well. I mean, if you're interested in learning about Sei, building on Sei, anything to do with Sei, reach out to me. You can DM me on Twitter, hit me up on Telegram, and then I'll I guess maybe over to you. I can send some information on exactly how to get involved with the fund if folks are interested in building, Brian or John.
For sure.
And then we can sort of disperse that across the community. But yeah, feel free to just reach out to me directly. I'm more than happy to field any conversations, answer questions, etc. So
yeah, after this call, we're going to start opening up and do a recap on this, and then start opening up to people on our platform to start applying to Sei and see kind of what we get and what we can bring you. And I know we'll get some inbound requests based upon this, and after we kind of wrap this up, throw it up on YouTube. We'll throw a recording on YouTube and then blast it out to the community. I think we should help push some interest up there for you.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds good. Really appreciate it, guys.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Graham. Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Bye-bye.